The United States makes the UN work when it wants it to work. And that is exactly the way it should be, because the only question for the United States is what's in our national interest.
My name is John, and the International Criminal Court is now in session. It is July 19th, 2023. The front lines have not really changed too much, though there has been reported advances by both Russia and Ukraine in the vicinities of the Lugansk and Kharkiv areas and the Zaporozhye front. Kherson is pretty much the same. There have been no advances by the armed forces of Ukraine in this area, but we do have advances in Velika Novosilka. In fact, let's actually check it out right now. So, Urozhaine and Staronoske are both under attack by the armed forces of Ukraine. They want to reach this area here, which apparently is the first Russian line of defense. So if they were to take this area here, then they will pretty much finally reach the first line defense that is held up by Russia. But from what I understand, Russians are holding on very well in this area, so yeah, I mean, they might be able to take this area from Russia, but I don't know how far they're going to go. And there's already reports of big, heavy losses in both manpower and equipment of the armed forces of Ukraine. So, yeah, keep an eye out on this area. Once again, the vicinity of Velika Novosilka, because this is where the Ukrainians have had the greatest amount of success during this counteroffensive so far, and that says honestly a lot about the state of this whole thing. But yeah, anyway, let's go now to the Orikhiv or Orikov vicinity. So just today, right before I started recording today's video, there were reports of another big offensive being conducted by the armed forces of Ukraine in Robotone. So far, a lot of rocket power and artillery are being fired at right now. So, yeah, this whole area for now is going to be a gray zone, at least to me. But yeah, again, just like Velika Novosilka, keep an eye out, because who knows, they may take this settlement, they may not. I mean, they really want to get to that first line defense by Russia. They really do. But Ukrainians so far, at least from where I can see, have not been able to make any significant gains. But speaking of gains, Ukrainians have also made gains along the line of the Bakhmut front, or Artemovsk, which is what most Russian people like to call the city. So, as you all know, Bakhmut fell to Russia 2 months ago. But Ukrainians want to take it back, and the first step to doing that is taking Kalivshka. This area is still being tightly contested right now. I heard Ukrainians are at least like right here or something, so they're like very close to the settlement. But Russians just recently launched a counterattack, and they're trying to push them out like right now. And again, they're pounding them with artillery and rocket power. Or rocket fire, sorry. Berkivka. Yeah, Russians have forced them out right after they entered it. So they launched a counteroffensive in this area. But yeah, so that's going to do it for the Bakhmut front. There have been reports by Ukrainians just north of Solidar, but that's about it. And yeah, so that's going to do it for the Ukrainian gains, at least for today. Now, in the vicinity of Liman and Kupiansk, the Oskoy River, basically the left bank of it, which is the eastern part, there's reports of 100,000+ Russian troops, at least according to the Kyiv Independent, who are a very pro-Ukrainian source, and almost like they're so pro-Ukrainian that I might consider them a federal source. Like, they're actually controlled by the state. So, yeah, kind of take whatever they say with a grain of salt. Yeah. So, the Russians, reported with 100,000+ men, are going to start an offensive, at least according to them, in this area here. They really want to regain everything they lost during the infamous 2022 Kharkiv counteroffensive by Ukraine. They want to regain everything back they lost, but the way I see it, I think the Russians will launch an offensive, but it's not going to be as huge as they anticipate it to be. I think their goal, their objective is to, take back Liman, but they want to take everything east of the Oskoy River. And maybe even take Kupiansk or something, which would mean they would have to cross it. But yeah, I would not be shocked if they start an offensive to retake Kupiansk and Liman from the Ukrainian forces. I mean, they have to. Because if they don't, how are they going to re-enter Kharkiv Oblast? And how are they going to also put more pressure on Ukrainians in the Donbas? In the areas of Donetsk that are still under their control. How are they going to do that without those two towns? They literally can't. So Russians are going to have to reclaim Kupiansk and Liman in order to cross the river over to get Izium back, and then maybe we can then expect an offensive on Slavyansk and Kramatorsk. So, but all these reports about Russians starting an offensive here are a little premature at this time. So, be very careful on what you see in regards to that. So, now on to the next topic. Besides, of course, the assaults, the leader of the Azov battalion, Denis Prokopenko, he has a mustache now. I think they cleaned him up or something. He's now back in Ukraine. He's now back on the front line. And as you can possibly imagine, a lot of Russians were not happy about this. In fact, I believe that this was the final nail in the coffin for this. The grain deal is now dead. The infamous grain deal. This was a very controversial thing in Russia because the grain deal would allow the Ukrainians to ship out their grain to the rest of the world. But many Russian supporters, though, saw that as weakness on the part of Vladimir Putin and the Russian government. And they also were reportedly using the port, now correct me if I'm wrong on this, to basically have military equipment delivered. And that's why Odessa and Mykolaiv were so important in this instance. And the grain deal sort of made Mykolaiv and Odessa immune. But now that the grain deal has expired, this basically makes both Mykolaiv and Odessa basically military targets again. And I knew this thing was going to die soon, but I was like, there has to be one final nail in the coffin. One that's going to actually wipe it out for good. And what would you know it? The return of the Azov POWs to Ukraine, in my opinion, was the final nail in the coffin for that deal. And, this leads us to the next topic. That this might be related to the just recent, this just came in, everybody, just a couple days ago or so. The Crimean Bridge, which connects the Russian mainland and Crimea, if not the rest of Ukraine, was once again attacked, blown up by the Ukrainians. So apparently, 2 people have died. Their daughter has survived, but 2 people have reportedly died in the explosion. I'm seeing a lot of people, at least pro-Ukrainians, making fun of the parents for dying or something, and saying that they deserved it or something like that. That's disgusting. And I don't know, they also don't share any sympathies for the daughter either. Again, that's disgusting. Don't do that. They're not the Russian state. They're just people. Just everyday people. But yeah, the Crimean Bridge got blown up. And as you can imagine, this was going to get a retaliation from Russia. And let me show you exactly what happened after the bridge was blown up by the armed forces of Ukraine.
О, слышно. Ебать!
Уебать!
Бля! Охуеть! Вот это снял, блядь! Говорит, охуеть!
Ooh, wow. Yeah, that's a crazy one. And here's some more videos here. This was posted to BitChute. But yeah, so this is footage of the of the bombings in Odessa. Now they're replaying like the clip that was seen on Twitter. But yeah, as you can see, Odessa is under attack by Russia. Like, I heard like cruise missiles were being launched, and then yeah, people were basically getting scared of the attacks. And apparently I heard like one of the key ports, if not the main port itself, was just destroyed by Russia like the other day. I mean, literally everyone knew this was going to happen immediately, right after the grain deal expired. Like, they weren't going to hold back on Odessa. And with the reported deliveries of equipment going there, none of this really surprises me at all. None of it. And that's the aftermath of the explosion. And then there's an image of the destroyed crane. And look at that. So yeah, and this is them putting out the fire. Yeah, it was pretty bad. A lot of pro-Ukrainians on Telegram are not happy about this, as you can possibly imagine. And then here's another video. Scary stuff. Yeah, speaking of more Western money, the United States has announced that they have approved a $1.3 billion package of long-term military aid for Ukraine. Again, which includes 4 air defense systems and an undisclosed number of drones. And according to this, the United States has provided $40 total billion in aid to Ukraine since the Russian invasion last year in February. And about $18 billion has been in longer-term USAI funding, including the recent announcement that was just made by the government. $40 billion. Right, we could be using that money to feed our kids, I don't know, try to fix the education system, fix our infrastructure, I don't know, provide health care for all or something. We could be doing something more beneficial than providing aid to Ukraine, at least in my opinion. Though I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with that. And another thing I want to discuss is Vladimir Putin's disputed visit to South Africa. This one's very interesting because the South African government has requested Vladimir Putin not to go to the BRICS summit because there's an arrest warrant out for him by the ICC, and South Africa is part of the ICC. Putin wanted to go, but ultimately, at the end of the day, he decided not to. Now, call him a coward all you want, and that's fine. But South Africa was in a very difficult position here. If they allowed Putin to go and they wouldn't arrest him, they could potentially be at risk of getting sanctioned and maybe kicked out of the ICC for their inaction. So, can you really blame Russia here? I mean, Russia, in the end, I felt like Putin wanted to prove something or what, proving that the ICC is useless or something, but I guess not. So, yeah, he will not go to the summit, and instead it's going to be Sergei Lavrov, who is his foreign minister. So he will go to the BRICS summit in August next month, and Putin will remain in Moscow overlooking the so-called special military operation. So yeah, let's see if I got anything else here to talk about. Nope. I think that's going to be it, people. So I hope all of you enjoyed today's video. I hope you all found it informative. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Take care. Peace.